Good morning. Happy Sunday to everybody. This is D Sads 1992, and today I'm back with another video. Finally, I'm posting on another Sunday. I remember in the past I had posted on a Sunday, and I told you guys, I touched the topic on that day, but today I am posting because I specifically have a topic in my mind that I would like to express. And that is just mainly, if you guys have been watching my videos, if you go back to Forgive Your Parents video, I touch bases on basically us as adults, forgiving our parents and moving on, and just understanding that they were most likely doing the best that they could at that time. But today, as I'm sitting here and I was watching TV, and it was a scene where the son was telling the mother certain things about his childhood, and she just totally twisted around and made it seem like it wasn't what he said. And I honestly felt like I needed to come on here and make a video about that. What do you do when you confront your parents with any trauma from your childhood and they do not acknowledge it? My best advice to you is to take whatever they give you and move forward. And I'm not saying for you to be like, oh, okay, well, that's just how my mom thinks, or that's just how my father thinks. No, it's not that. It's that they fail to acknowledge as a person what they failed at. So when we confront them about our childhood issues and they deny it, or they, cover it up with certain things like, oh, I was there, but I had this and that going on. It's our place as an adult and as their child to understand that they have not reached that point where they have took fully responsibility for not being present in the home for the children or whatever it may be. And because I feel like I gave you guys advice, on just forgiving them and stuff like that, but I never touch bases on what do you do as a person when you confront your mother or father about an issue, or whoever raised you about an issue, and they deny it or they do things to cover it up. Your best bet is to take whatever they give you and to move forward. Say, okay, if that's the side that you believe, I accept it, but I have a different story. And just make that be known. But the main thing is that when we do, if we do confront our parents, the number one rule is to go into that conversation with no expectations in regards to them acknowledging all that they have done wrong to you. Because you have to understand, we all are human. And we all have our own traumas. We all have our own things that we struggle with on a daily basis. And when you are a parent and when your child is coming to you saying, you weren't there for me at such and such time, that is a very sensitive topic. And no parent, let's just be real, and I'm not taking sides, but no parent wants to be told that they were not doing the best that they could at that time. So when they fail to acknowledge that, your best bet, okay, that's the story that you remember. I remember this. And why I'm saying this is because we're doing this work for you. We're not doing this work for your mom. We're not doing this work for your father. We're doing this work for specifically you, and you healing all of that trauma that has affected you in your adulthood. Because no matter what we think or what we choose to think, how we grew up, our childhood has a huge role in how we develop as adults. And when there's certain things that need to be addressed, you have that right as a child to address that issue. However, when the parent does not acknowledge it, I advise you not to get upset at them, not to hold grudges or cut them off or whatever. You just have to understand that that is just that person. And we have no control over how other people handle things. Like I said, we don't even barely have control over what happens in our life path, as far as what God has plans for us. So I just was like, yo, let me make a video. And I'm going to share something with you guys personal, since I came on here and did this video about this topic. My father, actually, me and him growing up, we weren't really close. And And I believe I stated that in an earlier video. Oh, actually, in the Forgiving Your Parents video. You know, me and him wasn't very close as I was growing up. I always felt like I wasn't his child because I was most close to my mom. So with that being said, that's that. So you guys get the point. We weren't close. When me and him had a conversation about a lot of mistakes that he has done, one thing that I can actually say and I can actually give him is that he has always acknowledged what he's done, you know, not for everything, you know, because I'm not going to say that, but for the majority of the things, I was just, take this. I was able to walk away from that conversation feeling like I knew who my father actually was. And that's when, you know, like, you know, because he was just in that place, you know, not everything he, you know, is going to acknowledge. Again, we are human, and no parent wants to be told, like, hey, listen, you failed on your child, you failed on your children, whatever it may be. But I'm just going to say this. I remember it was around the time that I got promoted. It was years ago. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. And I just got promoted to a supervisor position that I have been working for hard on for a couple of years. And I got it. And, you know, and to have that conversation take place at that moment in time, which is why I always say, I believe everything happens for its own reason. But I don't want to get off a topic. But this is just basically it. The fact that I was able to walk away from that conversation and feel like, okay, at least he acknowledged certain things. You know, whenever we approach any conversation that is sensitive, we have to kind of accept, not accept it in a way as it's crossing your boundaries, but accept that that person is just not there. And you know what? You never know. You might bring the topic up to your mom or dad now, and they might fail to acknowledge. And then years later, they'll call you and say, you know what? That topic that you brought up, it really touched me. I had time to think on it, and so on and so on. And that is just what it is. So we just never know where people are actually at in their life, you know, mentally, emotionally, and physically. We just never really know. But don't lose hope, guys. When they don't acknowledge it, don't lose hope. Just give yourself a pat on the back for being brave enough to confront that issue. Brave enough to say, listen, this is what's wrong with me. I've acknowledged it, and it's because of what I grew up with. You know, my biological mother, I have told you guys, she passed away when I was 13. So I will never get that chance to actually sit down in person and actually confront her about certain things. But I'll tell you guys this. I got a book, and it was basically mothers and daughters. That's all it touched on, was mother and daughters, and how mothers and daughters relationships, you know, it's a huge thing. Just like they say fathers and sons, or they say fathers and mothers and daughters and fathers, whatever it may be. My personal belief is that each parent gives the child things that the child needs. It's no one better than the other, one less than the other. That's not how it goes. It's a balance, and the child needs a stable mom and a stable father. But I read a book, and it was a lot of exercises in that book about forgiving and just about letting things go and acknowledging it. And I remember going through so much emotions. Now, before my mom died, here's the weird thing about it. I'm not going to say weird, but this is the thing that basically doesn't really happen. I believe that my mom gave me some type of peace before she passed away. I believe that she knew she was already going to, and when we had that time, she really, like, I've personally felt like she apologized for certain things, but there are still things in my life that I'm left empty with, you know. Our relationships to our parents is extremely important, but we also have to understand about what kind of world we're being brought up in, you know, and what we have to understand, you know, that how our parents grew up has an effect on how they parents, and the same thing with us. But what we can do as a generation is try to do the best to cut those ties, you know, those negative ties, and keep going and just make it positive from there. So that's the video I wanted to share with you guys. It's a little bit longer than what I expected, But yes, that's the best advice that I can give to you guys. Just take it for what it is and move forward. Just know that you were brave enough to confront that issue and be proud of yourself for that. You know, there's a lot of people that they don't never acknowledge certain things and never get to confront their, you know, their mother or father about certain things because they were just too scared. And then years later, they regret it. So just give yourself a pat on the back. Take it for what it is and just understand that they might not be where you're at this time, okay? So I hope that you guys have a wonderful Sunday. And most of all, stay positive. Continue to be positive. Give gratitude. And I hope that everyone's week goes well, including mine. Okay, so that's all I got for you guys today.